Welcome for this nice section. Excel functions, data validation, data forecasting, and other related functions that we will be looking at tonight in this data analysis with Microsoft Excel scholarship course. Kindly confirm if you can hear me. Kindly confirm if you can see my screen. I want to strongly believe that we are live this night. I strongly believe that we are live. I strongly believe that we are live. Kindly let me know if you can hear me, if you can see my screen. All right. We are welcome for this nice section. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see my screen. Also, drop in the chat box your name, your scholarship ID. That is a means of attendance for this course. Drop your name and your scholarship ID. Also, let us know where you are joining us from for this night section. This session this night is going to be a very, very important section. Also, if you are in the scholarship group, go to the group and let them know that we are live. We are live. Yes, I can. Good evening. Okay. Go to the group. Let them know that we are live. We are live. We are live this evening. Let them know that we are live this evening. Those of you that are joining us for the first time, this is a scholarship program, data analysis using Microsoft Excel. Is a full scholarship program that is designed to equip participants with strong knowledge in data analysis using Microsoft Excel. And if you are not in the scholarship group, I know that there is a platform I belong to that I gave them a privilege to be part of this scholarship. That's why you might be here tonight. So if you are not part of the scholarship, don't bother. Just drop your name and tell us where you are joining us from. And those of us in the scholarship group, kindly go to the group and let them know that we are live. Let them know, let everybody know we are live. All right, beautiful. If not, Oshun Benedict. Beautiful. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. This night we are going to have a journey into key functions in Microsoft Excel as regards to data analysis. Also, we are going to be looking at data validation and data forecasting. As time permits us, we will also be looking at conditional formatting if time permits us tonight. All right. This night section is going to be so loaded. And I want to say, if you haven't submitted your week 1 project for the scholarship course, kindly do that before this week runs out. Kindly do that before this week runs out. Okay, that is it for now. Let's quickly go into what we have for today. Let's quickly go into what we have for today. All right. Okay, let me open my Excel sheet. We are going to be making use of this data set. This data set is what we are going to be making use of. Today we will be diving deeper into logical functions. We will be diving deeper into logical functions, and when we scroll down, we will be looking at these logical functions. These are logical functions. When we go to formulas, if we go to formula and we come to logical, you will see most of the functions we have here. So we are going to be dealing with logical function and how we can use it for day-to-day analysis of our data sets. Also, we will be having what is called logical operators, because when you work with logical functions, when you work with functions as regards to logical functions, you will be making use of logical operators. And logical operators are what we refer to as logical operators. Why this means equals to, this greater than, less than, this means greater than or equals to, this means less than or equals to, and this means not equals to. This is how we enter it in Excel or any database software. So tonight we are going to be getting some insights as regards to this data set. This data set is over 60,000 range of data set. It's kind of a large data set, though not that large, but kind of large data set. And we are going to be doing some basic cleaning or some basic structuring of this data set. Now let me walk us through the headings of this data set, this which is already formatted as a table. We have the product, the customer, the amount. This is the customer ID, the amount, the cost price, date of purchase or date of birth, then the customer name, marital status, product, subcategory, product category, current country, and states. We have that here. Now, when you look at this data set, when you move around and have overview of this data set, you begin to see for this aspect, for the product or so, there are colors. You have multicolor, you have black, yellow, and this, and then you have this one NA. So if you want to say, okay, this NA, we want to replace it with a certain color, that is what our choice. Let's say we want to replace this NA with a certain color. We can have something like this. Okay, that I think that might take me time, but we might have something like this. Come to home, go to find and replace, come to replace here. Now this replace, we ask us what are we looking for. Well, find what? We say find NA. Remember to type it. If it's capital letter, you type it with capital letter. Now if we find it, what are we replacing it with? This is basic Microsoft Word. If we understand that, if you find it, what are we replacing it with? Let's say when we find NA, let's replace it with purple. Let's say we replace it with purple. Now once we do that, we can come here and say replace all. Now is telling us that it replaced 28,000 something. It has 28,000 something replacement. Then we say okay, and then we close. Now if we go down to where we have NA, you will no longer see that NA. You are now seeing purple. You are now seeing the purple being part of the data set, and that is one of the ways we can structure data. When you see nil or you see NA or whatsoever in a data set, and you don't want that NA to be there, you can make use of this function here, which we have find replace. All right, now having settled that, we are going to be looking at, in the last class when we talked about functions in Excel, 50 functions which we are not really able to complete. All right, just give me a minute. A minute. All right. I just dropped a message in the group, in the scholarship group, so that those that are not aware we are live should join us immediately and know that we are live. Okay, now we are going to be making use of the if statement. We are going to be in logical functions. One of the functions there is if statement. Now what was if statement? If statement is a conditional statement. If statement is a conditional statement. In other words, if this is not this, give me this. If this is this, give me that. Now, if statement is something that we use in a system whereby if we want to reward customers, let's say we have these customers and we want to reward them. Let's say I will come here and put reward. Now in this aspect, the table will absorb it. Now what am I working with? Now this is the customer, this is the amount he has. Now we might say, okay, we might want to reward customers. Let's check what is in our data set by overview, and then okay. Now let's use if to know customers that we can reward and customers that we won't reward. Now let's take for example that the company wants to give a Christmas reward, a Christmas bonus to customers that makes purchase of over $3,000. If the customer's purchase is over $3,000, the customer will have a reward. Those that their purchase is not over $3,000 will not receive any reward. Now, how do we get to know the ones that they deserve reward and the ones that doesn't deserve reward, or the ones that deserve bonus, the ones that doesn't deserve bonus? Now, from this data set, if you are going to be doing it one by one, you are going to suffer. Definitely, you are going to suffer. I guarantee you that. So what we use in order to ensure that we save ourselves that time and that stress and energy, one of the functions we use is the if function. And how do we do that? We can use it by saying equals to if. We double click here. If this is the amount, we said if this is greater than or equals to 3,000, comma, let's say we type here give reward. Then if not, no reward. If not, no reward. Now, what we just did here is a statement, is the if statement. If what is here is greater than 3,000, give reward. If not, no reward. Then we hit enter. Now, you will see that automatically we begin to know those that we deserve reward and those that doesn't deserve. Now, you see this one is not up to 3,000, therefore no reward. This one is not up to 3,000, therefore no reward. And if we begin to go down, you will see there are those that no reward and those that give reward and no reward. Now this might seem confusing. Someone might say, this is kind of confusing. We want a situation where those that are not to be given reward, nothing will be in their reward space. It will remain vacant. It will remain empty. So to do that, let's go back to our formula bar. Instead of typing no reward, we delete it and then put space. Instead of typing no reward, we delete it and put space. Hence, once we put that space, I should do that in the let me use the first function here. That's the bit of error for me now. Let me remove that. All right, now instead the next thing to do is to put space. Hit your space bar. That space is saying that if it's greater than 3,000, if the person buys something that is greater than or equals to 3,000, the person should be given a reward or deserved a bonus. Any statement that we wish to be there. If not, let not have anything in that particular cell. Let it be vacant, and then we hit automatically. You see here that in this particular cell is empty, so that someone will not say, I didn't know that there is no reward, I'm confused, or stuff like that. It will be empty, like we can see. Like we can see down here. So we can see all these ones. The ones that deserve reward gives reward. The one that doesn't deserve is empty. So that becomes how we use the if statement. There is another aspect where we can use both if and or statements. Both if and or statements. Now, or and statement. That is when two conditions are to be met. That is when two conditions are to be met. Now, what that means is that we first of all need to understand what is the meaning of and or. And or is also a logical function that returns only true or false. What the and returns, when you make use of the and statement, it returns either true or false. When you make use of the or statement, it returns either true or false. Now, for us to understand the true functionality of these two functions here, it has to be that we embed it inside another function. So when that is the aspect we call nested function. That's the aspect we refer to as nested function. That's to say a function inside another function. So when we are talking about the or and in our basic algebra, logic, Boolean algebra logic, when we say and means both statements must be true. For example, if I said that this customer, this person is David Phillips and is from Indonesia. Now, if I say that this particular customer here, his name is David Phillips and is from Indonesia, that statement is wrong. Why? Because both statement is not true. His name is David Phillips, but he's not from Indonesia. He is from Canada. He's not from Indonesia. So if I say that this customer is David Phillips and from Canada, that two statement is correct. So that means if I use and, that means it returns either true or false. But if I say that this customer's name is David Phillips or he's from Indonesia, once one statement is true, the statement returns true. So for us to use this, we are going to be using it due to the time we have tonight. We are going to be using the or and function with the if function. We are going to combine it with if function, so as to get the full benefit, the full use, and the full understanding of that particular function. Now it has to make use of two or more arguments, and or all functions makes use of two or more arguments or two or more statements. Now let's take, for example, the company says, okay, for now we are rewarding only those from Canada. Only those from Canada we are rewarding those from Canada who bought something that is 3,000 and above. we are rewarding only those from Canada, and also their purchase must be 3,000 and above. Now you now see that there is two conditions now. There are two conditions. The first condition is that the person must be from Canada, and the second condition is that the person must have bought something like from 3,000 naira and above. So how do we run this analysis? How do we analyze this data set and get insight of those, and get insight to know those who we are going to be giving reward or bonus, and those who are not going to receive bonus? Being that we have this large data set, over 60,000 data set, so we are going to be making use of both if and statement. Now let me use bonus for this. Now on this aspect is two conditions. One must have bought something of $3,000 above, and secondly, the person must be from Canada. So how do we do that? That is where we bring the aspect of nested function. So let's see what we do. If we type if. Now what's our logical test? Please follow me. We are getting into a bit more advanced aspect in Excel now. What is the logic statement? Remember, if here is the first thing, here is your logical test. Now what will be our logical test becomes the AND function. We put AND because AND will now check the two statement. Once the two statement is true, then we will need to give bonus. So if we are going to say if amount is greater than or equals to 3,000, comma, and this is equals to, we put it under double quotation because it's text or character. Whenever we are entering text or character in Excel, we put it under quotation. But if it's number, we don't put it under any quotation. So we are going to type here Canada. Close quotation. Now if this argument, if this condition is met, we are going to close the bracket and put comma. Our logical test is done. Now if it's valid, if it's true, then less deserved bonus, we close it. But if it's not true, we put under quotation space, close the quotation. We don't want to type anything like no bonus, nothing like that. We just want it to be vacant. We just want that cell to be empty. However, if we are to plot visuals analysis charts in this, we might not be working with an empty cell. That is when we will look to replace it with something else. All right, now I need to close this particular function, then and hit enter. So that says deserve bonus. If we check this, the person is from Canada and he bought something of more than $3,000. Now you see that all these places we are seeing here, they are not, if you check, either this person is higher than but is from France, this one's United States, and Germany, Australia, United Kingdom, and that, and then when you come down, you now see those that deserve bonus. Canada have stuff like this. So those of them that met the two conditions, the ones that met the two conditions are the ones that will be giving bonus. So we use this in order to analyze our data set. Even if you are working as a HR and there are targets and you begin to check which branch, which department, which sales personnel deserve to be given a bonus, and which of them doesn't deserve bonus based on the condition, based on the target set. So if you make something, if you meet this target, if your sales is over so amount, then you are going to be qualified to receive incentives, to receive bonus, to receive to be part of the profit sharing, or to be part of any incentives as regards to the company that the company wants to give. So this if and function can help us work effectively in that regard. As a HR, it can also help us to filter those that will be able to give bonus. All right, that is the if function. And now, what if I change this function, just only this, from and I change it to or? Now, if I change it to or, you will see what happened here. Now, what that is that for the or function, it simply means if either of the criteria is met. If the person is either from Canada, or if the person is from Canada but did not meet up to this, the person should be given reward. Now let me check. This person here is not from Canada. Let me check this person also. Now look at it here now. This person is not also from Canada. At the same time, he didn't meet up with this. Now let's check. Let's see if, let me come here now. Let me add 4 to this person, and you see what will happen now. Automatically it changes. The person now deserves bonus. So which means either way, if the person either meets one of the criteria, the person will qualify. But in the previous example is that the 2 criteria must be met. That's when the time we use and, the 2 criteria must be met for the person to receive bonus. And that is where the use of and or function. And I want to believe we understood what I'm talking about tonight. Please, if you are following me, if you understand these functions, the if, the or and function, please drop in the comment in the chat box. Let me know you understood it. If you don't, also drop it in the chat box and let me know the area that is a challenge. We are moving up a bit. We are stepping up further into Excel, and I want every one of us to move alongside with me. If you understood these 2 functions, the if and then the if and the if or, let me know. Drop it in the comment, drop it in the chat box. Let me know, yes, I understood it, or yes or no, I didn't understand. Then let me know the area you didn't understand, so as to carry all of us along. All right, now let's proceed to what we have. The next function we have here is the ifs. Now the ifs is used in place of nested if. The ifs is used in place of nested if. And if I'm to open this data set, which is it this one? Okay, it's not this one. Okay, it's in another data set. If I'm to open, if there are different conditions, this must be during we use ifs in place of nested if, where we use it to calculate. All right, someone says I understand you, sir. Thank you. Now I will bring up a data set where we can make use of these ifs. These ifs, we use it in place of nested if. In our last class, in the last 2 sections we held, we saw where we use nested if to calculate the grade. to calculate the grade, to know whether the person will be given A, B, or C, D, E, or F. Instead of using nested if, we can use ifs. All right. Now, the next thing we look at here is average if, count if, sum if. Now, what is this aspect? This aspect is very, very important. And before I move into the average if, and I go into average if, count if, sum if, I'm going to introduce a function. And from that function, I'm going to show us data validation. I'm going to show us a bit on data validation. Now, what function do I want to introduce? I want to introduce a function called unique. I might have introduced it before, but I'm not sure. I want to introduce a function called unique. Now, let's take for example, let me go up and let me freeze from here. Let me freeze from here. Okay. Now, let's say in this place, I want to know the countries that are represented. Under the country section, I want to know all the countries that are represented. Based that this data set is a large data set, I want to know the countries that are represented on this particular data set. So instead of trying to be counting them one after the other, wasting my time, and at the same time have a high possibility of making mistakes, I'm going to say equals to, use the function called unique. This function will show. If you are using Excel 2016, if you are using Excel 2019, there is most likely sometime you might have it in 2019, some you might not have. But I'm pretty sure if you are using Excel 2021 or 2024 or Office 365, you will have access to this function called unique. So if you don't have access to it, don't bother. Follow me along. I will show you later when we get to pivot table how we use that to know the aspects of the countries involved. Okay. Now let me double click here and then select the array. Now from here, let me hold Control, hold Shift and press my up. I will remove my hand from Control, press 1 down and then hit enter. It takes me down. Now it uniquely displays the number of the countries that are represented in this data set. Now that shows that the countries that are represented in this data set are Canada, France, United States, Australia, United Kingdom and Germany. These are countries, 6 countries represented in this data set. Now what if here what if I put, let's say, in Nigeria in this data set? What if I put Nigeria here? What if I put Nigeria? So you see immediately the function displays the next country added, Nigeria, in this particular data set. So it is a very, very powerful feature we have here. So the thing I will Control Z, then having this aspect of unique function that shows, yes, I have already discovered that I have 6 countries represented in this data set. Now what next do? I have to copy them, Control C, let me say escape, and paste it beside this one. I still want to retain this. If I don't want to retain it, I will paste it on top here, but I still want to retain it. Now come to this place to paste. I will go to home, Control C, let me come here and then paste as values. So I will paste it as values. Now escape. If I click here, see the difference? If I click here, Excel shows it to me as a function. It is generated as a function. but if I click it here, it's as a value. Now what that means is that if you copy this data set like this with this to another Excel workbook, that might not really, okay, not this one, not this aspect, the parent data set is here. In a situation where the parent data set is not there, it might not really display. Okay, now having gotten this, these are countries: Canada, France, this and this. I want to calculate, I want to know what is. I want to know the count if, the sum ifs, average ifs, count ifs. Now let's say on top here I have country. On top here I have let's say revenue, or let's say total amount. On top here I have total amount, and then now let's say here I want to know the average amount generated by Canada. Let's say that's what I want. I want to know the average amount generated by Canada, and okay, I shouldn't even have this here. That should be where my country will be. Now let's take for example here I want to get insights. What is the total? Let me start from sum. Let me rearrange them. Control Z. Okay, now let's say I want to know the total amount generated by Canada, France, each of the states, each of the country rather. I want to know the total amount generated. Then the total sale, let's say these are sales, the total sales generated, the average sales, the count, the number of sales from each of the countries, then the sum ifs will come. Now instead of me coming to put Canada here, instead of me coming to say Canada and move forward and say France, to create another table, move forward and say United States and stuff like that, instead of doing that, I'm going to make use of data validation to have it here that anytime I open the one I open, the result will show for me. So here I'm going to make use of data validation. Now to use data validation, I will select this, go to this function called data, go to function called data, and then come to this. This is data validation. Once I click on it, select data validation. Now inside this data validation, you will see what is data validation. Data validation is an aspect of Excel that helps in data structuring, in data security, in data organization. Therefore, when you don't want someone to enter a kind of data, you can constrain the person to enter a specific kind of data you want, in a way that if the person enters what is not declared for that, it will not go. For example, you might want to fill a form and you are required to enter a password. You are required to enter both number, text, and the character, and you enter only number and text. It will tell you that is not complete. You need to add a character to it. So that is also an example of data validation. Where we give instruction, they are the kind of data that we really want in that particular cell or that particular range. That is function of data validation. That's why we refer to it as part of what we call data security. So in that, we will come here, you see what in Excel by default as this cell, any value can enter here. That's what this is showing now, any value. By default, we can enter any value in this cell. However, let's now declare the kind of value that is allowed there. Now we come to list. Now under this list, I will come to source. Where is the source? Where is my list? Where am I getting my list? You can type it. You can type Canada, France, United States, and the likes. But not to waste my time, I will come here and highlight. So once I select this, it's already locked. And then I will say OK. Now, if you come here now, if you click here, you will see there is a drop down button here. There is a drop down button. So if I don't want anybody to know that this is where my range of sales comes from, or my results or stuff like that, I will highlight this, go to home, and then come here, make the text white. It looks as if that the text is not there, but it's there. And the same way I can also do that for these ones as well. Okay, now here I will want to color it so that I will know that that is one of my cells. So having done that, you can see that if I click here, the drop down, you see the list there: Canada, France, United States, Australia, and the likes. So now that is on that aspect. Then SUMIF, we will now want to sum this total number. We want to get the total sum of sales from each of the country. How do we do that? If the country is Canada, give me the sum. If it's France, give me the sum. That is what we are going to use SUMIF to achieve. So we say equals to SUMIF. We double click here. Now once we double click, it will ask us the range. The range is where we are going to get the country. So the range is this. The range is from here. So we click here. Instead of dragging up, we hold Control, hold Shift, and press up. Once we have highlighted both country and Canada, we remove hand from Control and then press down arrow once in order to select only that particular range. All right. Now what you are seeing here is, let's move down. Now here we put comma. Then after that comma, we have selected the range. What criteria are we looking for now? We click this. This is where our criteria is. And then we press F4 to make it absolute reference, to lock that particular cell, to lock it, and then put comma. The next is the sum range. Where are we going to sum? What you are telling Excel, if you see Canada here, sum it up for me here. If you see France here, sum it up for me here. Add up whatsoever cells that represent Canada, represent France, and stuff like that. So here I'm going to click here, hold Control, hold Shift, press the up arrow, remove my hand from Control, and press down arrow once in order to deselect amount and select only this range. So what you are seeing in the function here is that the range is the sales, the country. Then the criteria is our validation. That cell we put a list of countries, and then here becomes our sum range. So this aspect it becomes our sum range. Now, having said that, the next thing we will do is to hit enter. Now once that is done, the same stuff is the formula is correct. I'm building something of like a template. The formula is correct. Now I will copy this formula, Ctrl C, let me hit enter, then come to this average if and paste it. Is the same. The process for average if is the same. The only thing we have to do here is to change sum if to average if. That's the only stuff we are to do, to change sum if to average if. Other stuff are the same for sum if and average if. Their procedures are the same. So I hit enter. Now we have this. We are getting somewhere is correct. Now what this means is this. Now count if, I'm going to do the function. I'm going to do the function here. Count if is a bit different. I'm going to count the number of sales from each country. So I will come here and say, I will come here and double click. It will ask me range. It will ask me range, which is this. The range is this country. I will select this, hold Control, hold Shift up, and then down. That is that, and then comma. It will now ask me the criteria. The criteria is this. So with that I will put F4 and then lock it and hit enter. It gives me 0. Now what did I just do? I just did this. If I give it to anybody and the person here now comes and select, okay, we want to know how much is generated from Canada, we sum up our sales, and then from Canada we want to know how much is generated from Canada. We select Canada. This shows up. As we can see, what is generated from Canada is, so how much is it? 1,977,844.682 So that is the total sum generated by Canada. So I can make this white so that to be visible. So if the average sales from Canada is $259.56. Then the total number counts sales in Canada is 7,625. So that is the insight. With this, we have run a kind of analysis from this data set to get insight of the total amount generated from Canada. Then we can also say, okay, we want to know the one generated by United States. We select United States. Automatically, this change. Automatically, it change. So we see that from United States, we are making 9-point-something million. And then we had a total sales of over 21,000. Then if we want to say, okay, we want to know the sales from Germany. That's so with this, with data validation, we are not just going to be drafting a kind of table unless when we need the table in order to make some visuals, to draw some charts and to do some charts. But if it is for key metrics, to get some key insights from the data set, we can put it under data validation and then use it to calculate those things once and for all. So once I need the one from Australia, I select it, I get the insight from Australia. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Please drop in the chat box if you consider this very, very beautiful, very, very important, and very, very helpful. I consider it very important, very helpful. In fact, I use it anytime that I have this kind of data. I use this aspect. Drop in the box if it's helpful. If it's something that you will enjoy using, let me know. Let me know in the chat box. All right, if you are joining us, also drop your chat, drop your name and your scholarship ID in the chat box. All right, so let's move forward. Now, some ifs is where it has two criteria. Now, the two criteria, let's say in the two criteria we want to, for a particular product, this is product category, we want to know how much we generated from a particular product in a particular country. You understand what I'm talking about now? This particular product category, we want to know how much, let's say clothing, for example, how much clothing gives us in each of the country. How much only clothing, how much we made from clothing from each of the countries. So the same way, we are going to use unique function to get to know what are product categories, what are the product categories we have in this data set. What are product categories we have in this data set? Beautiful. It's helpful. Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, to me, is something very helpful. It's something that saves a lot of time. It saves a huge lot of time. So, it's something that one doesn't need to be doing so many functions at the same time. Okay. Now, for us to do that, some ifs has to do with more than one conditions. This if, some if deals with one condition. Give me the sum of some if is this country, but if is deals with more than one condition. In other words, like I said, we want to know the clothing, how much we made from clothing in each of these countries. So we can come here to use your unique function. I type unique, double click here, come to product category, hold shift, up arrow, and then hold down arrow to select the range, and then hit enter. It brings us down here. Now, what is showing us, we have 3 product categories. So we want to know how much we made from each of these categories. Let me copy it and then let me paste it over here as values. What did I do? Control C. Let me, okay. I think I now see my error. This one is, here is where I pasted something before. Okay, let me paste it here. Control C, and then let me paste it here. As values. Beautiful. Now, having gotten this, I'm going to come here again and do my data validation. I'm going to come here, do the data validation. Let me select that, go to data, and then come to this, select validation. This appears. I will go to list, any value, select list, and then inside the source, I will highlight this and then click OK. That is the validation. Let me leave this for now, and then come to if, some ifs. Now, what are we going to see here? Under some ifs, under the some ifs, let me have it to be equals to sum. We are going to select this, some ifs. Now, some ifs, what is the sum range? Now, in the sum if, you start with range, but in the sum ifs, you start with the sum range first. So what is the sum range? The sum range is our total amount, or the amount sold, amount. That's our sum range. So we are going to hold control, remove our hand from control, and then select that range of cells, and we come down, then say comma, Then after the comma, the next thing is the criteria range 1. Criteria range 1. The criteria range 1 is the country. The criteria range 1 is the country. Now the country is this. Hold Control, hold Shift, up, down. So that is the criteria range 1. The criteria range 1, then you say comma. Now what is the criteria 1 is this, the one we have in our data validation, and let's press F4 to lock it. That is our criteria range 1. We put comma. Then we are moving to criteria range 2. The criteria range 2 becomes the product category. Now the product category, control hold Shift, the up arrow and then down arrow. Let's come down. And then what is the criteria? I put comma. What is the criteria? The criteria is this. Press F4 to lock. Now that is sum ifs. We have two conditions. Now let me explain that. The sum if we want to know sales generated from, let's say, Australia, on the product category, let's say clothing, how much we made from clothing in Australia. That's what the sum ifs gives us, how much we made from clothing from Australia. So the first criteria is the country, which is the country. From country we are looking for Australia. The second criteria is the product category. In the product category we are looking for clothing. So with that we hit enter. It gives us 0. Why? Because we haven't declared the second, which is this. So here let me format it again with let me format it with this color, and then let's say we come here and we select clothing. Now this is what we have. This is what we have. So with sum ifs, what we are having here is the insights. This is so much wonderful. This is very, very powerful. Wonderful. This is telling us that from this data set, for clothing in Australia, we made $70,259.95. Now, if we want to know how much we made from clothing in United States, we select. So in United States, we made 133,000, over 133,000 from clothing. Now we can use that to get insights. In France, we made 27,000. In Canada, we made 50-something thousand. In United Kingdom, we made 30-something thousand. And then in Germany, we made 20-something thousand. So that will tell us that in United States we make much money in United States as regards to clothing than any other countries. This is very, very powerful. And the same way we do that is the same for average ifs. The same for average ifs. The same for average ifs. So if I copy this formula, Control C, let me hit enter, and then paste it here, Control V, and come over to this place, remove this and put average, double click ifs. That's all, and hit enter. It shows me the average sales from clothing as regards to United States. That is close to $40. That's close to $40. So that is the average if. That is the average ifs. And then we move to count ifs. Now under count ifs we have it gives you criteria range 1, criteria 1, criteria range 2, criteria 1. So Here the criteria range 1 is the country, go this, move up, come down, and then comma. And what is the criteria? The criteria is this, F4 to lock, comma, and the criteria range 2 is the product category. Hold Control, hold Shift, go up, hold Shift to bring it down, and then comma. What is the criteria 2? This, Shift 4 to lock it, and we hit enter. Now in clothing, we have for sales, as regards to clothing in United States, we have 3,388 sales. We have 3,388 sales. So this is how we can get insights. This is how we can get insights as regards to this data set. This is a very, very beautiful functions to use, especially working with large data set, trying to get some insights, trying to know, okay, how much was made from this branch, from the sales we have. Let me get me the total money made, then get me the total sales generated by this product from this branch. Let's know where we are selling more of a particular product. Let's know where a particular product is moving more. We use that to get insights. We use that to get insights, get ideas, get important informations that will drive us in decision making. And that is why companies cannot do without a data analyst. Companies cannot do without analyzing their data set, getting to get information and insight and trends to what is happening in that particular, in their business, in their organization, in the industry, in that particular location. So these are certain functions that we use every now and then, day to day, in order to ensure that we work effectively. If you are just joining us, remember to drop your name and your location with your scholarship ID. That's very, very important. Okay, now we are moving to lookup functions. I have talked a bit on data validation. Though I will still talk more on it. But let me look at lookup functions, lookup, VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP. Mostly what I will be looking at, what I will be bringing our understanding to, is XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP is used to, if is this the best data set for this? Okay, now let's now we have this data set. I think I will use this will be okay. We have this data set, over a 50,000 data set. Now we have this unit selling price revenue. What's our revenue? Our revenue will be equals to products this, comma this. Hit enter. That will be the, and then double click. That settles that. Now I'm going to move these guys up. Let me move it up here. Now let's take, for example, we want to get to know the best performing region. Let's take, for example, we want to know the best performing region. Now here I will come here to bring out region. We want to get to know the best performing region from our data set. We want to know that region that is performing the best. Now we have east, we have south, we have west, we have north. That's the region in this data set. But let me use the unique function to display that as well. I have this. Then here, Control Shift down, and then hit enter. It shows me the 4 regions: east, south, west, and north. Now let me copy them. Control C and paste them over there, and Control V, escape. Now I want to now have total revenue. Now I want to know the best performing region. Now I have this to be east, southwest, now. Okay. I'm trying to see if there is another way to achieve this result. Okay, there is other way, but it might take us a bit far. Let me put here total revenue. Now for the total revenue, I'm going to be using SUMIF. Now what is the range? The range is the region, so I'm selecting here. Then let me control backspace to go up, and then comma. What is the criteria? The criteria is east. And then what is comma, and some range is the revenue. Now Control Shift down, that's the revenue. Control backspace to come up. Now these ones I'm going to lock them. These ones F4, and then this one F4. I'm going to somewhere, and this one F4. I'm going to lock the two. Only this one that I will leave. Now hit enter. Now this is what we have, and then I will drag down. It will give me for the others. Now what I have here is for this, the same stuff is for this, the same stuff is for that, the same stuff. So this is what I have. Now to be able to calculate this, I'm going to format it as going to come to number here, use separator. Let me use separator and remove this, and then put it this way. It will be easy for me to read. That's to say I'm having this. Now normally for us to have this, if peradventure we don't know this, let's say this place I have something, I make it like this. Let's say we don't know, these are total revenue generated from each region, but we don't really know the regions that have this revenue. Now if we want to get to know the best performing region. For example, the best performing region, we okay, I think from all indication this should be there. That is what I'm looking for. Now let's say we want to know the best performing region. We can use XLOOKUP. We can say equals to, let's say we don't, this is a long data set and we don't really know if it's not or whereas we want XLOOKUP to give us the name. I'm going to use it in another area as well. We want XLOOKUP to give us the name. I'm going to say XLOOKUP, double click. It will be asking me for the lookup value. Now the lookup value will now be inside it. I will say max. Let's take for example that I don't know the one that is the highest. This data set is so heavy, so large. I'm going to make use of XLOOKUP. What's the lookup value? Get me the maximum value. Where am I getting the maximum value from here? So that becomes my stuff, and I put comma. Then no, not comma. I close my bracket for that and then put comma. I'm done with the lookup value. Then the next is the lookup array. Where am I getting this value from? Where am I looking up this value from? This particular value, if I get it, where am I looking up the value from? Then the lookup array is still from this value, is still from this range. So I will highlight this and put comma. Then the return array is here. I will select this. That will give me, okay, I need to close the bracket. Excel is telling me, do you want to accept the correction? Of course, I say yes. So it will give me not. The XLOOKUP gives me not. Now, why that is important is this. If tomorrow, why this is important is this, instead of looking at it and then just saying is not that has the highest. Let's say tomorrow there is an error and we discover that this is not this price, this is this price, and this happens. And then let's also check, maybe this is 770 for example. Let's see if it will affect the overall price. It didn't. And also let's check if this one will affect it. It's coming up. Now let's also check. I want to show us something here. Alright, now you see that if there is an update, let's say we receive a new data set and add it to these ones, update it, that if this is a table, we formatted this as a table and we add it and refresh it, this will automatically update to the new best region. For example, we have it on top here to be best region. So anything that happens, it will automatically update here. Because why I'm teaching this very well this evening is because we are going to be using this knowledge when we get further into Excel, especially into the designing Excel dashboards. We are going to be making use of some of this in developing our key metrics. So that is for the aspect of best region. Now let's take, for example, we want to know the best state. The best state. We can also use XLOOKUP. The best state is the best state in terms of sales. Let's say we want to know the best state in terms of sales. Let me bring back to where we are. So let's say this is best region, best state. Now let's take, for example, we want to know the best state in terms of revenue, or we want to know the best product in terms of revenue, the best product category in terms of revenue, in terms of a single revenue, the state we made our highest sales. Let's say the state we made our highest sales. We have something like this: highest sales. In other words, in a single sales like this, which state did we have our highest single sales, our highest sale? Now we can also get it by using XLOOKUP. Which state we have our highest single sales? We can say equals to XLOOKUP. Now inside the XLOOKUP, what is our lookup value? Our lookup value is max, that maximum value. Where are we getting it? Here. So Excel run a query, run a analysis control up, get us the maximum value from this range. That becomes our lookup value. If I search this range and get the maximum value, what do you want me to return? What do we want me to return? The match. That's the match. If I get the return, the match. That's the match. If I get the maximum value, what do you want me to match it to and return? So I want you to return the state that has that highest sales. Search it across the state that has that highest sales. That's what I want you to return. We are saying Excel, search for this value. Search for this maximum value in this range of data. When you get it, return the match. Return what you get with the match in this state. And we hit enter. Oh, I always forget to close the bracket. I will say okay. Now it's saying that is IMO. It's giving us that the highest sales is IMO, which I think is this particular one. I think is this. So with this, it's telling us the state we have the single highest sales is IMO. So that is what we are getting from there using the XLOOKUP. That's where we have our highest sales. The revenue and down, hit enter. That shows us, and from there you see this is the highest, the max, which is, so XLOOKUP is very, very powerful. It's a very powerful tool that we use in order to be able to do some stuffs. All right, now I'm going to okay. We are going to go over to data forecasting. We have talked about lookup functions, the logical functions, the lookup functions, XLOOKUP, VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP has its limitation. I don't really like teaching VLOOKUP because you will not need it once you know XLOOKUP. VLOOKUP like I use XLOOKUP to do now. If it's VLOOKUP, this will not work. Revenue is in front. When what I'm looking for is in front. So if I'm using VLOOKUP to get Imo State, this revenue should be in front. So here I have to now come to rearrange my data set, or I will first of all plan to rearrange this data set in a way that it will suit me to use VLOOKUP. That's why most times I don't teach it, because XLOOKUP has already replaced it. XLOOKUP can look both left and right, but VLOOKUP looks for stuff only from left to right, not from right to left. But XLOOKUP can look from left to right and from right to left. So that's why I focus in teaching only in XLOOKUP. As we progress, I will talk about filter, index match and functions. But for tonight, I want to talk about data forecasting. Data forecasting. That's the aspect of analysis we refer to as predictive analysis. Please confirm if please confirm if you can hear me. I think I'm having a bit of network glitch here. Let's confirm if you can hear me. Please confirm if you can hear me. I'm having kind of let's confirm if you can hear me. Let's confirm if you can hear me. Confirm if you can hear me, please. Oh my God, I'm having network challenge here. Can you hear? Please confirm if you can hear me. I want to move straight to data forecasting. Oh my God. Okay, I think we can proceed now. We are going to be looking at data forecasting, and